I a bit the bastard. The I don't know any other. Yeah, probably do if I were to put my mind to it, but I don't really want to put my mind to it. Today's gonna be hopefully a very very little brain power day because I have to write an essay after this. Um. At least it's not a case of I've forgotten it. I'm not even sure. I should finish the essay, really. It's due on Monday, so I don't technically have to have it done, but it's also 4 pages, um, and on poetry, which isn't bad. Or at least it's minimum of 4 pages. I also had to write an Irish essay and an English essay. That was one I was just talking about. Irish essay, English essay, um, maths homework, accounting, 3 fucking accounts to do. Like Jesus Christ. It's not even when you like say it out loud, right? It doesn't sound like a lot of work. Oh, I also have to do a write up for computer science. But when you like get into it, when you start really being like, oh, that's like okay, so Irish essay, um, the, like what, an hour and a half because it's delightful like that. It's what, 2 pages, 2 A4 pages. English essay, at least 4 A4 pages, probably 40 minutes, I guess. Um, Maths homework, not actually gonna be that long. I've already done half of it. Accounting homework probably gonna take me like 2 hours. So yeah, it adds up pretty quick. Those and the fucking. Well, I've still to email the people in my group. 'Cause it's a group work thing. I can do that now. It's a group work thing, and I need to make sure that nobody else is currently doing it. So I guess I start a group email. Do I even know all of their fucking names? Do I? That's gonna be embarrassing. I've been going to school with these people for literally my entire secondary school existence. Ooh. Okay, well, no, I definitely have one of their names, right? Because they shared a thing with me. Oh fuck. Okay, I've got 2 names. Not a clue on the third one though. Um, I might just email one of them actually. Be like, "Hi, you know what to do." Folder shared with you. Yeah. Has anybody else added anything to that? Last edited a day ago, so probably not. I'm assuming. I'm going to assume that seeing as it was last edited when it was created. Uh, oh my God! Look at that. He's there are all the names there. Hell yeah. Um, that's nice. That is quite nice. It is quite pleasant, one may say. I might draft it. Okay. I didn't know that one of them was in it at all. Or am I just forgetting Uzu? I know who one of them is. The other two, I think, look pretty fucking similar. Oh, okay. Do I really want to email all of them? Do I? I should. Okay, what's the fucking last one? Oh, yeah. God, it's through school emails, so it won't. But is your name spelt like that? Ugh. Hi, hello. I'm gonna email my group about like the project, the computer science thingy. because it's like, ooh, kind of have to do that at some point. But I don't actually know what I'm supposed to be doing because, like, I did the very start of it, right? And I wasn't in yesterday, so yeah, it's a little. I'm doing okay, all things considered. The- Like my mouth hurts a hell of a lot. Got my braces messed with. Um, so that's fun. I've got a hell of a headache. Uh, um, okay, it's not an email that I'm writing to a teacher. It's fine. It can be informal. Um, how would I text any of these people? I wouldn't be like dot dot dot. What you want me to do? Um. Oh wait, what even? No, sorry. I'm just genuinely trying. I'm just genuinely figuring out what I need to do now. 6 minutes in, it's probably gonna be another 8. Nah, it won't be that long. But hey, you'll get my so very entertaining commentary over the top. Do Monday? Oh yeah. That ooh. I 11:59 p.m. I mean, yeah, that's when you're gonna get it probably. But Jesus Christ. Accounting, computer. Yeah, it's going fine. Well, what's needed for the write up? Because yeah, it's a write up, right? Um, team name, team members, aim of the project, overview, flowchart, digital input, output, data since measured, stored data, stored data screenshot, s- des- describe dot dot dot. Oh, okay. So we had Jesus. Okay, I'll make um. Okay, for the up uh um uh the um uh fuck if no one else has started yet if no one else has started yet on um should I just make a thing and then share it with them? Fucking yeah. No, I'll just email them later. It's fine. Sorry, I've just wasted your time. This is what my anxiety looks like in action. In so much action. I like okay, here's the thing. They're not even like bad people. They're quite nice. I'm just so incredibly awkward. Edmund. Why have I looked up the wreck of Edmund Fitzgerald? it's a boat. Um, I need to upload the flowchart to that as well. Ugh. Ugh. Sorry, I'm just dying on it. Anyway, today we're doing Hexit again because I was like, hell yeah, this is fun. I enjoy doing this. I didn't open it beforehand though, so it will be. I could have done that. Um, I really enjoy modding Minecraft, right? Varying up to, I swear to fucking God, if you have to update, I'm going to stab you. I can start on on the write up if it needs to update. um, yeah, okay, start it. Why are you not over? What the fuck? What the fuck? Okay. But yeah, um, I am accessing Hexit through Technic, so it will take a couple minutes at the very least, possibly more than that. Um, does it? Oh, it's got to be working now, right? It's got to be because it got up like several thousand points. Yeah, maybe not perfectly all the time, but a little bit. Anyway, I would like to um I would like to copy this slide. This entire thing actually. I don't want to send them the unedited editable version. The fuck? File, make a copy, entire presentation. Um right. Yo. Um uh 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 um um it's ooh, I can. Yeah, is it what the fuck? What the fuck? What's it? What's it doing that? Sorry. What? Wait a god. One, it doesn't even fit the fucking screen. Why is it not match title? Window title must match. It's there it is. There you go. Don't know why it insists on it being small. I don't understand that. But yeah, you can watch that while I while I start on my homework. We'll pop it in computer science. And hey, this means remove all speaker. Don't remove all of them because there might be important information in there. But alas, um, da, 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 da. Are things fucking breaking? Oh yes, I think they are. That thing is still loading. Um, it is still loading. Why is it still fucking? It's been there for like 10 minutes. Um, team members that I can do. Okay. Let's do it alphabetically. Okay. I don't know how to spell these people's names. I won't fill in the team. Aim. Within an embedded system. Using control digital inputs and outputs with Design automated applications. Well, I mean, that wasn't really what we ended up doing, was it? Oh god, why? Why? Why is it not working? Okay, this is fine. Okay, which one of these can I fill in really easily? I swear to God, Hexa, if you've broken, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna actually break down sobbing. What we learn, if we were to redo the assignment, photos, video of it in operation, mistakes, do analog inputs, screenshot of program, description of program, data, the data, that one I can fill in. Probably. So are you enjoying watching the loading screen? Okay. Oh fucking hell, that's. Oh my god, it opened. Oh my Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, they didn't set it from like at a millionth of a second. Somebody turned off the lights at some point. So what? Oh my Jesus fuck. How long was this running for? It's so fucking. What? Like yeah, about an hour, and it was logging things every hundredth of a fucking second. Why is it? What is it? Why is it doing this to me, huh? Why does it resize the goddamn thing for every fucking scene? Why is it doing this? I am infuriated and offended. There you go. Now you can see it. Look at that. Okay, give me a second. The data that was collected through the program. I can't spell program, I put a third M in there. Was, that of how right the area was that the was running in, and how long the program had been running in second. I can't spell milliseconds either. That's fine. Anyway, Minecraft. I'm not entirely sure on what we're gonna be doing, right? I feel like don't actually know. I feel like we need to get the backpack up and running, and that we need to like get armor and stuff, and get all of our shit again. Oh yeah, that would take 7 years as well. Don't mind me. I'm just gonna keep writing. Data that was sensed. Oh. Oh, by the. Wait a second. Why is it? Stored data measured by the program. For and time passage. And the passage of, like, yeah. I digital output. Fuck. This has taken forever to load, I'm just saying. Has it fucking crashed? It hasn't crashed! Look at that! Oh yeah, Peanut. Why are you in the wall? Okay, yeah, just give it a minute to load in. Give it a minute. A moment, one may say. I think that we need to well, one, get armor going. Two, I want that. Why that chest made it lag so much? I'll never know. You just do that right off the bat. Just immediately. Did not help. Okay, good to know. Fantastic to know, one may say. Fun fact about the braces being messed around with is that they don't poke in nearly as badly as they did beforehand, right? They still do though. Let's just scroll through, or fuck it, or we won't scroll through it. That's fine. Plus, blah 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 blah. Wobbly Cat is being very laggy currently. Ah yes. Ooh, a fancy lantern. I do quite like Bibliocraft. Quite fun. Oh, damn. Ah, a typewriter. Just what we need. Blah 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 blah. That's a lot of blocks. Future block. Oh? Race group. Well, that's a lot more boring than that, isn't it? Oh, they're all okay. I assume most of these are going to be chisel then. Can you not craft them? Okay. Can you not craft any of the... even better. Craft some helmets? Casting. Fun. I don't particularly want to do that. I'm very bad at... oh, are those 4? Ah. Can't get... the city and the helm. No. Ah. Yeah, okay. I guess we stick. There are fun things as well. We probably stick with like just iron armor for now, and then work our way up slowly. Rocks, all. Damn, that's a lot of ingredients. Um. Dude, though. Cannot make any of the good, even better to know. A B box. Fun. Okay. What has just broken? Many things. Okay, so I say we get stuff. We get stuff. Um then what can we do with tin? Tin? No, I just want tin. What the fuck can you do with tin? What can you do with tin? Tin tower shield, tin brace shield, tin chest transporter, that's fun. Crescent hammer. Tome crafting. Okay. Okay. Thermal. Okay, so it's. Uh, um, I don't know a lot about many of these mods, you will come to find. It's just not a thing that I. Like, a couple years ago. Hello, cicada. Okay, really. I just decided to not go to school. God, I wish I could do that. Um. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, you'll find out. I know fuck all about these. I might have like 5 years ago, but I just don't anymore. Right? It's just I just didn't keep up with them. Just kinda forgot. Oh, is that more iron? I'm okay. Oh, we'll make some copper. Put gold in there. That can go. What the fuck was that? What the fuck? What? I don't want to know. I don't. I've decided. I just don't want to know. Yes, we. What's that chest transporter again? Sticks and a tin ingot. Oh, is that a fucking snake? God. It's so much fucking. I don't want to know. I've decided any of my God, I'm great at this. Um. Hell yeah. No, it doesn't show up anywhere. Just really fucking slow now. Really slow. Um. Boom. Them can go there. That can also go in there. I would enjoy one of those. Pop over there. Drop such. Drops and food. That was neither. Is fine. Do that. That was not. That's also neither. Those are sticks. um. Oh, some rocks. Yeah, you could go there. It's sleeping time. But yeah, I woke up as I was supposed to be leaving school today. That was fun and definitely not terrifying. I definitely did not shit myself. Well, to be fair, I didn't, but it felt like it. Yeah, I found the snake. I found you. Oh, found the creeper. What are you? Turkey? Oh. I got a shot. Let's just go on an adventure in like this direct. There are so many. Oh, snakes spawning more now because I put everything else down. Horns McGee! Hello. Down here. We haven't actually gone near a cave yet. I do also like we're just bringing the stingray with us. It's just our buddy now. It's just here for the ride. That's the noise that my laptop makes when it wants to enable sticky keys. I don't like it. It's not really unnerving, but kind of like, wait, what thing have I pressed too much? Okay. I don't even really know what sticky keys does, right? I just know that I don't want it. What the That just fucking died. That is so much ore, I want it all. Siltstone? Okay, I'll take it. Don't know what it is, or what it does. We'll find out. Is that all okay, fucking boring. You bore me. Sorry. I'm going to pop that in there. We are going to continue so that I can feed you. Goats are fantastic. We're either going to be down here for a really long time or not a long time in the slightest. Like we're either going to be down here for like 3 years or for like 2 minutes. Considering I do have wood. We could stay down here for a really long time. But it is a possibility. Nothing very interesting's been happening. Like there are the kind of like day-to-day things, like, oh, I went to school, but you know, nothing fun's happened. Oh, not really. Like, it feels like it's been a lot longer than 3 days, though. I will say that. It, like, not even 3. Fucked. I don't know how to count. It's fine. Like, I don't know. It's a really odd amount of time. That just doesn't feel like it's passed, which I'm not gonna look any further. Like, eh. I mean, really, the less time, the better, right? The less I feel like I'm in school, the better. They're assholes. Let me just... There we go. Let me just reload the chunks. That will be happening a lot. It gets very laggy very quickly. So extremely quickly. It's actually kind of funny how fast it does it. Okay, what over there is trying to kill my laptop? Been down. Let's go in the direction of the laptop death. There's nothing here. There's a deer. Oh no, this is the direction like the two. No, that's the direction of the. Over there's the direction of the two fucking things. Is it? Oh no, it. Okay, no, there is a thing there. It's without periods interrupting it. I mean, yeah, you can now do. Oh, they're like 3. Oh no, because that doesn't. That is, yeah, that is a thing that you can now do. It really doesn't like over here. It really fucking doesn't. I think we've used this cave for all it's worth. Still don't really know what inside math, English, biology, so boring day. Yeah. Bone. No. I wanted the bones. I no longer do biology. Well, it wasn't even biology, it was just kind of mixed sciences that we did. New to game design, so I'd have to start it next week. That sounds like it's going to be so fun. Starting new things is always a pain. Like, oh. Well then. Auto take PE and biology. Fair. Not fair. You can't change your timetable. Fun though. I guess. Oh, I thought that was a fucking mammoth. I have fucking. What do I have tomorrow? Good question. Construction, music, math, English, maths. English is gonna be fun. We get to finish. We get to, well, not so finish. More so get critiqued on our essay writing. He's gonna fucking gonna rip our spleens out. But yeah, it'll be fine. It's a bear. It's a hole. Where the... I love the lag. I adore the lag. It's great. Probably not helped by, you know, the boss 5 feet from me. But it's fine. I'm not sure about you. I'm not sure diamonds are supposed to be this high up. Not sure about that. Didn't... Why am I on currently? 58? Not sure they're supposed to be this high up. Not sure, but they were very close to coal though, so maybe. Maybe, I guess. Is that clay? Ah. Weird. One of my friends has uh a history project, and half of their final grade hinges on it due by midterm, which is in 4 weeks. No, after midterm. So they have 4 weeks to do it, and they didn't know about it until 2 days ago. They didn't know when it was due for, so they hadn't started. Kitty. What the fuck is that? Oh, that's just. What? What? What the? Oh god, they're over there now as well. I don't like it. I don't like it. Oh my shit. Oh my god, it was the eyes that were giggling. That's what it was. The eyes giggle. I don't like it. Where's my house? There it is. I don't like the. So, okay, so they were just in the cave, and I couldn't see them because whenever you got close to them, they disappeared. Nice. Didn't make me shit myself. What the fuck just spawned? What? I don't want to know what just spawned. I don't. But it's good to know what was giggling. I guess. That depends on how much it wants to murder me. Really. I mean, if it really wants to murder me, then it's probably not the best thing to know. It probably is kind of good to know. But it would also be better if it was, you know, something that I knew was dead. Which probably wasn't making it any easier to exist and not lag immensely. Look at that. That's nice, I guess. I have some coffee. That little like jingle sound. Oh yeah, on Wednesday in music, the the deputy principal came in, and she has never been a music teacher, um, ever. Not once in her life has she ever been a music teacher. But she really likes music. And she came into our music class and was like, "Oh, you have to keep the tradition going of making a 6th year band." And I'm like, "What the fuck do you mean?" Because and then she went that backed that up with being like, "Oh yeah, it's been going for like happened 2 years in a row." That doesn't make it a tradition though, does it? But yeah, she basically threatened us make a band at some point, which, you know, didn't make me want to make a band. Just saying. Oh, fucking hell, there's so much more to this shit. Spider. I need more string. I need a spider. I desperately need a spider. Be fair, I said fun, and I realise I've no fucking clue what you mean by auto tech. Not a clue. We if we do have that subject, we don't call it that. Fuck. Oh, fun. Oh, you grow fast. Quite to the rate they've got going there. It was like immediate several times. Shit. I'm fucking putting it down. Oh, fuck. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. I am this game. Yep. Do I know what I need half of these for? Nope. But I'm going to pick them up. Okay, the spider fucking died. Good to know. Project Vibrant Journeys. I'm gonna guess this is just an extra block and it does nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay, maybe walk a little slower then. If you're going to be that dramatic about that. Okay. Gonna can break everything. Okay, that's comforting and definitely fun. Half of the game deloading. You know, just being able to see what's deloading behind you. Nice. Technically, what above us that we'd be seeing deloading? Okay. That wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It had like a bar and everything. So I thought it was gonna be like horrific to try and battle. But it wasn't. It is gonna be so odd to go back to playing like 0.19 again after this. I will have gotten used to the old textures again. The even older textures. Okay. Well, you don't need to throw a hissy fit every time I move, do you? Please don't. I would rather, I would genuinely rather be able to move. What if I just set this down to like 4? Mm-hmm. Um. What if we go for that? Because then okay. Well, an Enderman died there. Because then instead of it jumping between like 30 and then like 120, it's not gonna go over. So surely it should be steadier, I guess. That's what my thoughts behind it is. That's how I'm gonna. Ah, shit. That's the wrong tub. Wobbly bobbly cat. Um. Cat. I could have stacked them up. Didn't though. You know what? Sure, let's make 3 iron pickaxes. Sure, why not? Why? Ash. God. We have 1 torch, 3 iron pickaxes. This'll go well. Ah yes, a great world view. Get in here. 3 feet from us. Yeah, I really said down here and then got fucking nowhere. I really do hope that nobody's coming in here expecting like master gameplay. Nobody should be here for anything but like charisma, maybe. A couple funny jokes. Oh shit. Hi. Why is there a blaze? Why is there a blaze? Why is it throwing stuff at me? Hi. You I can deal with. You are fine and are now dead. A blaze? Underground? That's not what I signed up for. What the fuck? Well, you can see what it's set on fire. I don't even know if that's a blaze. It just sounded like one, probably because they use the same sound effect. I would assume. Shit. Oh no, it's after the fucking update. A Spitfire skeleton. Okay, not a blaze. I'm here for entertainment. I wish for. Sorry. I'm just here to make it clear. It might be quality content, but it's not gonna be quality gameplay, you know? Come on. I'm gonna lure you over here. So that I can, ha ha ha. Hey! Look at me go. I am talented and fantastic. But yeah, I'm glad to fuel escapism. What the fuck is that noise? Oh, it's that. Well then, that was answered pretty quickly. What's that weirdly ghostly noise? It was a ghost. It was a ghost. I solved the case. Okay, so fun fact, I can't run without without everything dying. How much XP does one really need, you know? And it quite a bit, I will not lie. How much coal does one need? I've got 2 emerald pieces. Ooh. I've upgraded from shards to pieces. Nice. I'm planning soon to start a new book because a lot of the books I read are very low commitment and on the internet. This one, um it's not low commitment. I'm pretty sure it is one of the longest books that I currently own. Um it's oh I can't Starship Rising, but it looks really cool. And it's like it's small enough to where I can definitely take it with me places. And it not be like a nuisance, but it is old and it is a paperback, so it could if it gets rained on it's fucked. No, I wanted the rock. I just wanted the rock. Oh, hello. We can do it all again. I've got no more arrows. Come to me. Oh, did you just fucking die? We can do it all again. Don't. I haven't listened to that song in a while. Yeah. Or at least not like actively, which I guess makes it. It's a good song at what it does, which is earworm. Oh, the eyes are back. Wait, do it. Wait, no, give me a second. I'm just gonna really quick. I'm just gonna look up what the eyes do. What do the eyes mob do? Exit. Eyes in the Darkness, official FT wiki. Eyes in the Darkness mob by adds a single creature, the eyes. The eyes are the sole passive mod added by Eyes in the Darkness. They spawn in dark places in all dimensions. When not looked at, they will slowly approach nearby players. They will disappear as damage if a player looks at them while close enough. If they manage to touch a player, they will disappear and jump scare them, obscuring their screen for a few seconds. During October, eyes spawn more and more often every day up until the 31st, where their spawn rate is at its max. Normal spawning then resumes the day after until the next October. Okay, so it's just a jump scare. Okay, that's okay. That makes me quite it. I get jump scared really easily, so that might be entertaining. Who knows? Why is that not loading? Okay, it is now loading. Okay. Okay. Don't. Hell yeah. No, not what I wanted. Hell fucking yeah. I get bones. Green grapes. Red grapes. Lunar edge. No, stop getting closer. I don't like it. Bane of Arthropods 5. Fancy. Amazing technicolor. You're saying that there are amazing. Oh my. They're fantastic. Tiger sticks. Some bread I can eat. Something laughs. Well, glad to know that they added subtitles for it. Rare large order award. Okay. He's giggling at me, I don't like it. Eternal compass. Leave me alone. Over there? Really? can't see it. Which could mean that it's really fucking close. Oh, we have some bullets. Zombie heart. Melon seeds. Oh, I should. Ooh. Hell yeah. Oh, they changed the golden apple design in. I didn't know they changed the golden apple. Like, texture. Pirate. Wait, do I look? Wait, +2, +1, unfortunate. Wait, can I put it on him? No! Oh wait, can I put the pirate hat there and the... Oh, there and there, then... No! Okay, it's fine. Ah! Oh shit, I forgot to put down the rest of the fucking torches. That's what I forgot to do. Damn it. Because the whole thing that was about putting them on every side of the spawner wasn't just that it was directly beside the thing that they could spawn. It was that generally if you put it on all the sides, it makes it so that all of the room is lit up. Common wood. Dusty book. Sorry, something is laughing. It's very off-putting. I probably don't need a spider eye. I do kind of also want the diamond. We can... Okay, which direction is my house in? That direction? Okay. Well, we'll dig up. Okay, peace off with your giggling. Weird. I don't like it. Not when I can't see you. If I can see you and you're giggling at me, it's fine. That's perfectly a-okay. Don't mind it one bit. If I can't see you and you're ominously giggling in the background, well then we have a problem. What the fuck is that? Oh, we're fairly close to the surface. Okay, that's fine then. What's the magic jingling noise? I would like for the jury to know that I'm not enjoying the array of sounds we're getting that I'm not used to. Oh, the sky is pretty though. We're gonna pop in here. I'm gonna empty. First of all, we're gonna put that in there. Don't need to be dramatic about it. Jesus Christ. Those can go in there. What else can go in there? Oh, okay. That can go in there. Those can also go in there. Those can also go in there. Those can go in there. What the fuck? What the fuck? Hello. Prick. Did I just get an egg? I did. Huh. Odd. Woolsmith, you doing okay? Hello, elephant. Why are you in my back garden? I hit the elephant, it's probably going to fucking murder me. Sorry, all of the lag's on my end. Runarach. Oh, a long log. Ermariva. What the? Come on. Get away from Orange. Okay, you prick. Oh, that was probably one of your work. That's fine. I got a fishing rod for it. I'm a pirate now. Turkey no more. Dead turkey. An ostrich. Oh, fuck. You make the ugliest noise. You're like an old man having a heart attack. Oh wait, can you ride an ostrich? Maybe. Probably not. Oh damn, it's a good thing we got that chest mover, because there are just 50 bajillion fucking chests here. Are you both trying to get out? We'll put more iron on. Oh! A common well. Destroy after deployment. You have cool goggles on. I didn't get the goggles, I don't think. Fuck, dude, I didn't get the cool goggles. Oh, okay. Sad. Sad, sad day. Sure. Rare. I'm. Oh shit. Oh. Okay. That was a weird fucking noise. Oh wait, that means it gets rarer as we go in. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I don't see how the outer layer is rare, but it's fine. It's perfectly okay. We'll deal with it. We'll live with it. We'll just exist. Sorry. There we go. Had to fiddle with something. Oh. Oh, lapis definitely isn't rare. What are you on about? Lapis? Rare? Why does it look like that? Because this is in 1.14. It is, from quite a while ago. I think it's 1.14.1 specific. So it's like, it's after, like, shields and everything, but before most of the more recent one. Why is there a huge block made of ore? Because of one of the mods. Capsules, I think is what it called. Yeah, capsule. You get to, and then you can spawn in the thing that it is for. And this one happened to be for a block of ore. Throw myself against the walls to pick up my stuff, as I normally do. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my breathing or not. Every now and then I'll remember that that's a possibility for something that can happen, and I become so horrifically self-conscious. Like, fucking hell. Why is there just... Oh, that's okay. That's the waypoint. I was like, wait, why is there just a completely blacked out square? Okay. Look here. Goes away. Don't really know what to do with a rattlesnake egg. You need more of those. Get more of those going. Let us acquire some more furnaces. Okay, Wobbly Cat, you've got to move. Sorry. We can put you in there. All of that. Boom. Gonna be pretty okay for ore. Pretty okay. Starting it back up. Nice. 5 of those. Do another bound leather. How? Nine. No, 8. Or we could make a big backpack. Oh my god, that is genuinely cheaper. For oh, fucking K. You didn't have to black out my entire screen. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 12 string as opposed to 3 times 8 is what, 18 or 24? 12 string as opposed to 24. Like, one of them sounds like a better deal than the other. I'm just saying. I've just spilled coffee on my desk. I know I'm sad. Oh, so sad. I'm despondent. It's not a lot of coffee. It'll be grand. Oh, go in there. Out here. I guess we can pop some. But yeah, that sounds quite a bit of a better deal. Okay, so we can abandon that then. The bound leather. Oh, are there any fun little things to do? cobblestone and melons. I just need to get a lot of cobblestone. I'm pretty sure I have melons already. I'm pretty sure. Oh, peanut butter the jellyfish is going strong. Melons, yes, we have the melons. We need what? We need 28 cobblestone. They're just perpetually burning now. Good to know. Here it is. No, it isn't. Where is it? Well, okay, it was kind of behind my house, wasn't it? Because I was approaching both. There it is. It's not still fucking giggling at me. That's quite a plus. I would say, in the very least, that that's quite a plus. Oh, it's a fancy golden apple as well. Okay. Hi. Sneaky bugger. Oh, hello. Hello, hello. I say goodbye. You say hello. There's a fire creeper somewhere. Oh, there. Okay. Hi. Bye, goodbye. Lighting up the room, I guess. The light of my life. Literally. Set my life on fire. Put down the fucking... Good to know that they injure me. I thought that was gold for a second. Not gold, I thought that was diamonds for a second. I can read, I promise. Yep. That is an ability that I possess. Glad you're aware. So we need to get to 33. That's a lot more than 33. Ah, okay, that goes up then. Good to know. Good to know. Okay. What the why is one of you popped out a fucking fire charge? That's not natural. Okay, which one of you shat this out then? Which one of you fucking did it? Jesus Christ. That's not normal. One of my fucking rabbits just produced a fire charge. Somebody just opened my front fucking door. Frick. Want to go hit it. Oh, the toolsmith's trying to get in my house, is he? is he? Did it die when I was at the tool? That does tend to happen. That does. That's a regular occurrence now, isn't it? Anyway, melons and go. Put in. Want that out of our first hand anyway. Feather, cobblestone, and melon. Hell yeah! We have succeeded. There's an elephant trying to become one with my house. A little concerned, not going to lie. Ooh, singular jacket potato. Technically that can go, so. And both of those, that can go in there. Well. Okay. Uh-huh. 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 There we go. Okay. What's growling at me? I know it's not the elephant. You don't tend to growl. There are so many elephants. Genuinely, like God, it's as soon as you get rid of all of the other animals spawning, everything else starts spawning 10 fucking fold. Probably like ups the chances of other things going this way. Don't want to associate with that direction. Also a creeper over here. Delightful. Love that for me. Actually adore it. And a skeleton. Nice. Eye prick. Oh, you've got the eyes, haven't you? That's sweet. Don't explode, Papa. Don't explode. Don't explode. Hell yeah, you didn't explode the bush. Appreciate it, really. Oh, were there two different tin ores? Oh, there fucking could be. No! I don't want there to be two different. Oh, that's. Did not know that it did that. We don't need our axe when we're downstairs. Essence berry, but that's not concerning at all. Like, the essence of what? Oh! Why is there a dispenser on the floor? Oh, that's why! That's fucking why! Ah. Okay. Let's go see if it's still, shall we? Let's go take a wee look. Let's go take a wee gander. Items in your inventory will not move. Brave items will be forced into their original spot. Oh no. Oh god, no. It's somewhere. It's still somewhere. Oh no, that's fucking you. With your 60 HP. Okay. I was gonna say fuck you, but you... Really, it's like, good. Okay, we'll make some more armor. And then also a sword. I like the wee little animation they've got going. Quite. There we go. We're prepared. Wobbly cat, stay. So yeah, this is going great, as you can very clearly see. I mean, okay, so I'm thinking if we can corner it. Is that the same skeleton? I am uncertain. We can do it all again. Fucking god. Oh, it's having a... Oh, it's not having a nice time. No! Ah! No! Get cornered! Fuck. Oh my god. Brave is now locked. Still got a viewing hole that I do not appreciate. There we go. There we go. Iron pickaxe. Fuck. Okay, well that's something we don't have. Okay. Well now, fellas... Like... Oh, that's what those do. Okay. Okay, this'll... We've cornered him, so it's grand. If need be, we can, like, get away one of the bottom blocks and poke at his feet for a bit. The elephants are as loud as ever. One of them is on the fucking ceiling. Okay, good to know. Good to know, really. There we go. Is it becoming night? It is becoming nighttime. Does it really matter if it's becoming nighttime? Sure, we'll go to sleep then now, shall we? Shall we know? Okay. Now we go and we get our stuff, I guess. We're gonna try and acquire the second one first. Our second death there first. But I don't know if you do just mine them or not. I don't know. Um Something down there is dying. Oh. Okay. Well, something happened. Uh Yeah, let's pick away at your toes now. Oh, not your face. Huh. Well, that's nice. What the f- I don't want to know. Don't. I just don't. I do not wish to know. Whatever that was, it can just Oh! Okay, apparently there's a fucking witch there somewhere. Just in existence, unfortunately. This is this is going great, I do have to say. I do another 20 seconds. Nice. Lovely, I do have to say. We get rid of the latest. Apparently not. Apparently the answer is no. Cannot. Okay. Shit. just as. God damn it. We've just been through this. My god, it's like when two blinkers are out of sync. That didn't last for nearly as long, though. Just... Okay. I will be back in a minute. I need to go and grab something from the kitchen. But yeah, I'll be back in like a couple minutes at most. I will put on some music and yes, I will return. Enjoy Car Lights, it's a good song. Is it, oh wait, is it gonna play? It is. Some more fake smiles, I'll just nod my head for one small glimpse of your breath. Stained shirts and cigarettes, I failed again, trying my best. Forget my fears, ignore all my threats. Just lay your mind on my chest. You seem like that kind of guy, so play me tonight. I hate what you're doing, I hate that it feels so right. You should we're out of their sight. They're staring
through the car lights. I hate what you're doing, I hate that it feels so. But I'm in your garden again until it's full. Conversations have started, what could this be? Don't you be so startled that I wanted more. I could answer your troubles if you let me in. I'd be out here for longer, but it's just too cold. And with nowhere to hide us, it won't come true. A call for the finish before we get old. And you sicken the tone with where you've been. You seem like that kind of guy to play me tonight. I hate what you're doing, I hate that it feels so right. You should we're out of that sight. You're staring through the car lights. I hate what you're doing, I hate that it feels so. I'm not scared, there's nothing to run from.
I'm not scared, there's nothing to run from. Well, I feel like I'm falling
for someone. I feel like I'm falling for someone. I'm not scared, there's nothing to run from. I'm not scared, there's nothing to run from. Well, I feel like I'm falling for someone. I feel like I'm falling for someone else. You can hold my hand in a crowded place, but just hold me close enough that they don't see my face. Why don't you come right here? Let's see how you taste. Just hold me close enough that they don't see my face. That kind of guy to play me tonight. I hate what you're doing, I hate that it feels so right. You sure we're out of that sight. They're staring through the car light. I hate what you're doing, I hate that it feels so.
Yep. Sorry, I now have some apple strudel, though. That's quite fun. Feels like I'm falling for someone. Feels like I'm falling for someone. It's a good song. It's a good song. And hey, I might be shit at singing it, but that doesn't make it not a good song. It does make me bad at breathing, however. It's at like the very edge of my comfortable range, which for most of it, not for the yelly bit. I'm very good at the yelly bit when and there isn't somebody on the phone in the room next to me. I'm not gonna scream highlights when somebody is on a phone call, unsurprisingly. That's not generally what I try to do. Especially when it could very well be a work call. I would rather not have that happen. Just like sure, most of the time I'm all for it. Not when it might be somebody's like, you know, boss. That would be very awkward. Be like, who the fuck is screaming in the background there? Where are they gonna come from? Oh, hello. Bonjour, mon ami. Hola, mi amigo. ¿Cómo estás? As I say to the gold ore that has no emotion. Huh, pretty shit. I'm fine with down here. I am a-okay with this bit. Let me escape, please. Hey, I wouldn't have spotted that I definitely need. Oh, that was sick dodging skills. I do like how it just fucking disappeared. I want to open it. I'm not going to, but I really want to. I also, fun fact, need to pee. I'm sorry. I'm leaving again. It's fine. You'll survive. Let me just put the volume down. Enjoy whatever song's next. I'll be back in like 2 to 3 minutes. Yes. Enjoy Vibrant Times.
I'm not the one to trust when I've lost everything that I've touched. I built a light in the sky, but I can't remember why. Oh, don't tell them what you've done, tell them what you've done. The war's already won, why do we go on? Don't tell them what you've done, 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 tell them what you've done. Scared of the water, scared of the rain, scared of the memories that make me insane. I'm scared of the smile I see on the page. I'll cover these vibrant eyes and forget the pain. Little voice ruining my sanity, evil dreams haunting me. Don't you ever look my way. Little voice ruining my consciousness, nothing left to reminisce. I would rather run away. Lessons learned from a page, no is waiting to decay. All this pain will make me suffocate. All my thoughts ever strange, free me from the mental cage. How could I forget my name? Scared of the water, scared of the rain, scared of the memories that make me insane. I'm scared of the smile I see on the page. I'll cover these vibrant eyes and forget the pain. Don't tell them what you've done, tell them what you've done. The war's already won, why do we go on? Don't tell them what you've done, 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 tell them what you've done.
Yes, I've returned. The only bit I really know about that is the whispering. One of my friends was being like, ooh, I could perm my hair. And it is great to watch their mental decline through only their Instagram stories. It is hilarious. Why is it so round? It's a strudel, not a fucking cavern. What? That's a lie. I don't actually know what strudels are like, but I thought they were supposed to be like flat, not round. There's like a whole gap in the middle. It's very odd. Very, very odd. Okay, so fun fact, eating strudel in pen, not easy. Far from it, actually. Boom, video game. And my fingers are sticky. I'll never recover. And that is my laptop running. Damn. Okay. It has been plugged in. There's a hole in the ceiling, I guess. Not I guess. You can clearly see that it's there. It's not an I guess situation. It's a look at that. A hole in the ceiling that I've just pointed out. Oh, are these both tin? No, they're not. Aluminium. Ooh. Rock salt, you say? Mathuron didn't just do. It's current update on how my throat's doing. It feels like, you know when you've got something stuck in your throat, but it's not like substantial enough that you can put it out. Yeah, it's kind of this is what I refer to as like bubble. Not really. It just kind of feels like you've got a bubble stuck in your throat. I was trying to think of a word to say after bubble to not just sit there saying bubble, but I didn't think of one fast enough, so I sat there just having said bubble. Oh, bastard! You piece of shite, you! Ah! Why is it so laggy? Stop being laggy. Please. Really that much effort? Jesus Christ. What are you spreading? Drop from... I don't know if it's spreading or not. If it is spreading, that's fun. If it's not spreading, that's, well, it's normal. At least normal, I would hope. Normal in accordance with literally any other bush. Okay. Or rock salt also goes in there. Okay, so I'm starting to need more of things just in general. I will definitely take a cooked. I feel like a whole turkey would do more than 4. Just saying. Just letting it be known. I feel like that is incorrect and not substantial. We'll put the dust at the bottom. Berries can go above that. Or can obviously go at the top. Um, diamonds can grow, and then so can coal, quartz, all that fun stuff. All of that fun stuff. No more shooting out any more fire charges, alright? I've decided against it. Come on, this one. 5 eggs and 6 feathers. Cookie skewer. Jesus. Catalyzing gland? Oh. 17 veggie skewers for killing one thing. $42 cobblestone. Oh well, sure can do that. Sure as hell can do that. That is a snake on a roof. I feel like that's probably more accurate than I give it credit for. Just gonna go do some digging. Ah, we probably need. Okay, give me a second. I need to go grab some chests. There we go. I will grab that wood. And oh. Bringing a whole fucking goddamn. That's gotta be weighing me down a little, you know? We won't. We won't. The fuck down here is lagging so fucking much. And it could be the fire spit. The fire spitter. You know, spit fire and all of that. All that jazz. Going down. Well, down and then up a little bit. Not much more iron for now. What the fuck? Why so laggy? What demon have you just spawned in? Because I would appreciate you not. You know? If anywhere in your cold, cold dead heart Minecraft you could not spawn in a demon. I would, you know, I would be a bit thankful. Like if I were to do Thanksgiving, then I would be like, oh, what are you thankful for? I'm thankful for Minecraft not killing me. Just a lot of cobblestone for like everything. Just a genuinely like startling amount of cobblestone. Like, God, everywhere. Oh. my friend that was the was the other half of the really quite shit breakup. The one that was, you know, they tried to set boundaries, and their at the time partner of what, 6 months, I believe, was like, no, you're the one that's driven me to attempt. You know, they're telling a teacher about it. Just not for like, oh, please help me with this. No, just for the goss. Just to like gossip. Like, oh, you wouldn't believe what happened. Really odd. It's not like really odd, but it's like, damn. Damn, does everybody need to know? Because, you know, there are some things where it's like, hell yeah, tell a teacher. There are other things where it's like, okay, the teacher is going to become very concerned and is going to be like, why the fuck are you laughing about this? Okay. Apparently you can swim under stalactites. We'll take some more coal, sure. We'll take some. Better than not. Ooh. I do feel like we're gonna have to go in the other directions. In the direction of the fire spitter. I do like the minimap. Enjoy it. Like they. Okay, hello. Hello. You said hello. I also said hello. Okay, we should. How do you make a smelter thingy? One of the really extravagant thing. The like. Fucking. The big uns, basically. What in... I'll get rid of them. What the fuck was that? Oh, hello. Hold on. I'll just scooch on out of there. Yeah, come out into the sun. See how that ends for you, bitch. Oh, what are you, a cricket? Not anymore. Not anymore. Got too big for his boots, didn't they? I say, having brutally murdered a cricket. Yeah. I don't want to know. Boom. Okay. Yep. there was the fucking rare thingy. The rare thing. Hell yeah. Got some carrots. Dirt and pepper. Feathers, feathers, and capitalizing lantern eggs with heart. Go to the other one if we really wanted to. Not sure we really want to though. Okay, calm down. We might stay awake to see if we can get more spiders. Oh god, oh, it's this version of Minecraft. Oh fuck. Fine. But actually start work. Okay, so you are going to be just all of the wood. You are going to be ground stuff for now. Anything that came from the ground and isn't an ore, just gonna be in there. The potions go at top. Books could go in line. Go there. Move. Paper can also go there, I guess. Miscellaneous. Stuff. Go down with the dust. Yeah, best for it at some point. Not today. God, what do you take me for? Competent? No. I'm upset by this spider. One of you is a spider. Did not drop any, but oh. Where the where did it oh. And the eyes are back. I don't like the eyes. They're in my house now. Oh no. Oh no. Why? you above me? I'm a fucking. This is fine. It's fine. You know what? This is a-okay. Why are you still laughing? Are you under my house? Oh, hello. Hello, King. Sticky Wither Ninja Sprint. What the? What the fuck's a Sticky Wither Ninja Sprint? And now it's fucking gone again. Oh god, it's gonna start fucking chasing me. Isn't it? Rare withering husk of inner peace. Protection. Who you say? It's still fucking giggling at me. I don't want this. Well, away from home I go. Oh, there isn't the arc on the bow. It just goes fucking away. Hold on. That sounded close. It's after the fucking sword. Before the bow. Okay, fuck off, you wee bastard, you. I saw you trying to stab me, bitch. Yeah. I knew I saw it in the eyes. All in the eyes. Eyes. What the fuck? No. Nope. 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 I'm not going up against the fucking Cobrasaur, whatever the fuck it is. I don't want it. Don't want any part of it. I'd rather be beside the eyes than 1v1 a fucking whatever Cobra. Yep. I am coherent and competent. Oh, that's over yet. I need to start a farm. Oh. The eyes are really that good to be like, oh, it's all just fun and games, and be actively terrifying the other children. Like, oh, we just played around. The other children actively, like, sobbing in the corner. Ooh, coal. Horns McGee. I love thee. Oh no, don't want to go over there. What? Our coaster raccoon. Really? Oh, you're in the other direction. They're back. Can they not be? I don't like the eye. Like them. Freak me out. Because it is like a kid just being like, ooh. Oh yeah, we're playing tag. And everybody else is actively shitting their pants. Actively suffering from dysentery. Ooh. Squid swims? Wow, I've never seen that before. Squid swimming, really? Unheard of. Unfucking heard of. This is something to tell the grandkids about, really. Fire extinguishers? What do you mean? Oh, that's what you... A silver skeleton? That's terrifying. No. I don't like it. I fucking hate it. Oh. So shit, it hurts. I don't want it. Don't gotta have it at all. Wait, oh, you're fucking above me or under me? I'd rather you not be under me. Not gonna lie. Why did you fucking scream? Okay. It started walking at me and I got scared. Oh, that's cool. What the? Okay. Ross? Okay, okay. Oh, it extinguishes when you're... That's kind of cool. I like that mechanic. The fact that they don't produce light when you're underwater, that's fun. Oh. What? Fucking where? Yeah, I'm fine with leaving now. I'm fine with leaving. go back home. I should have made it a brighter colour, really. Oh wait, does that mean that the eyes just fucking follow you around until you get rid of it, and then it respawns after a bit? Is that what that meant? Bunny, 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 I still find me in a rich man's world. Once McGee. Ooh, all the things I could do if I had a little money. I'd be funny. I feel like money would make me less funny, actually. No, is jellyfish dying? Why is jellyfish glowing? Is jellyfish a fucking ghost? Peanut butter a fucking ghost? What's happened to jelly? It's fine. No, it's still fucking here. No. In my house. Is that where you are? You in or on my house? Okay. They're either above or below this corner. That's fine. Way. Found them. They didn't move though. They never move. Which is, I've got to say, a little confusing. I also don't know what these white chocolate tastes like me. Okay. What? Okay. They're both looking at me. Oh, you. I think that for today, that's where we're gonna be ending it. I have some homework to do and some other just general life stuff to be doing. So, thank you so much for being here. It really does mean quite a bit to me that you'll sit there and just listen to me jabber on for 2.5 hours. But yeah, thank you for being here. If you've been here for 5 minutes, 50 minutes, or 2 hours, 21 1 minutes, 2 hours, 19, sorry. If you maybe consider following, it will shit a ton. I do this Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 7 p.m. GMT. Not just this, other things. Yes. Such things I do. I don't know what we're gonna be doing, but tomorrow I do this 7 p.m. UK time. If you are also really shit at time zones, yeah, I hope to see you then. Don't know what we're doing, as I've said about 3 times. I used to have this like really, really quick and to the point. Now I just don't. It's just gotten longer and longer as time goes on. Anyway, yes, bye. Have a lovely rest of your day, however long that may be, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Goodbye. Bye.